The gavel hits once. Sound slices through the morning noise. Golden light crosses the bench, then fades. On thousands of phones, a 12-second clip loops. A voice snaps over it. He didn't even stand. The angle is off, the image grainy. A man in a jail jumpsuit sits as the judge enters. No context, no explanation, just fury. Comments pour in. Disrespect. Throw away the key. He thinks the law doesn't apply. Hashtag, stand or sit. It surges into trending before the sun reaches the courthouse dome. In her chambers, Judge Celeste Rowan watches. The video's glow crawls over her face. For a moment, only a beat, she blinks slower than usual. Her hand hovers over the mallet. A fraction of doubt passes like a shadow. She closes the laptop. A mote of gold catches the mallet's rim. "Let's find out who stood," she says quietly, then corrects herself with a softer note. "And who didn't?" Courtroom 12 fills fast. Reporters press into the gallery, screens held low. The air tastes like coffee and expectation. Clerk Maya Johnson leans up. "Your Honor, the clip came from the overflow room. KETV pushed the wrong feed." Rowan eases forward. "Wrong feed?" "Their auto switch engaged during a live handoff. The 10-second buffer was cut," Maya says. Her voice has that technical calm lawyers learn to trust. Rowan looks toward the defense table. Derek Cole sits cuffed, shoulders squared. A strip of cloth wraps his ankle. He lifts his chin once and the motion is small, a muscle tightening at the jaw, the brief clench of a hand on the edge of the bench. Not an apology, not defiance, a human habit, a man trying to hold himself together. Across the aisle, Avery Sinclair stands. Avery's hands are steady. Her face is practiced for the camera. But today there is something else under the surface. A quick flare when she glances at Derek. Years ago, Avery's younger brother had come through the county courts, bruised and unheard. She carries that old case like a folded note in her pocket. Public outrage taps a familiar chord. This feels personal, not performative. "Your Honor," Avery says, "the defendant's conduct is contemptuous. The public needs to see that we hold the bench with respect." Her words are clean. They land well. They also carry a private edge. Evelyn Cross, the defense attorney, meets her with a steady calm. Short, ash-blonde hair. A tailored suit. Eyes that catalog, then speak. "There's no proof of intent, Your Honor," she says. "He moved late. He did not refuse." A man in chains has limits. A murmur ripples. Cameras click like small, impatient birds. Chief Judge Roland Hayes watches from the observer's row. He folds his hands as if weighing the moment with a scale that only he can see. Outside, the steps are split. Signs read, "Stand for respect" on one side, "Sit for rights" on the other. Two chants rise and collide under the courthouse portico. Rowan smooths the papers before her. She breathes, then lets out a tiny, almost invisible exhale. A human pause the cameras will miss. When she speaks, her voice is even but not flat. "If truth must compete with clicks," she says, "justice will always lag behind." The room hushes. Even shutters seem to pause. She turns to Maya. "Pull the full transmission log from KETV. 10 seconds before. 10 seconds after." Maya's fingers move fast. Lines of data pass across her screen. She stops, brow tightening. "Your Honor, the system shows an auto cut. The handoff trimmed the buffer," she reports. Then more quietly she adds, "And there's an odd packet timestamp, a gap that doesn't line up with the switch." The small note hangs like a thread in the air. Rowan's hand rests on the mallet, not to strike, but to steady herself. "Restore what the machine deleted," she says simply, "and have their technical lead on the stand." From a press row, a reporter leans to another. "She's pulling the footage," they whisper. "She always does," the other replies with the tired respect reserved for a judge who digs. Evelyn leans down to Derek. "You stood," she says softly. "We'll show it." He nods once, a barely visible motion. A man not ready to tell his story yet, but willing to be seen. Gray clouds roll across the dome. Cameras pivot toward the door Rowan left through, hoping for a moment that fits their scripts. She is not giving them a script today. She wants facts. And in the silence that follows, a question slides through the room like a breath. Have you ever seen a courtroom go viral? Understood. I incorporated your changes. One witness pushes back. The hidden sign takes effort to reveal. Avery uses the new evidence to sharpen her argument, and I tightened language to cut excess while keeping part 2 at about 800 words, read out loud, ready for TTS. Judge Rowan calls the courtroom back to order. No dramatic bang, a soft rap, attention snaps. Avery Sinclair stands first. "Your Honor," she says, "we must defend the bench. The image broadcast to millions undermines public confidence." She looks at Derek for a beat. Then to the press. Her voice is controlled. The memory of her brother surfaces in the way she tightens her jaw, private fuel given public shape. Evelyn Cross answers simply. "Context matters," she says. "We need facts before punishment." A KETV technician takes the stand. He speaks fast, shoulders tight, defensive in the way someone used to being blamed becomes. "There's a main feed and a backup," he says. "Auto switch handles handoffs. The buffer holds 10 seconds. During the handoff, the buffer trimmed." He avoids the word fault. His eyes flick to the field producer in the press row, who meets his look with a hard set to her mouth. Maya asks about signage. "Was the overflow clearly marked? Did crew see it?" she asks. "Yes," the tech says too quickly. "There's a sign." When Rowan calls the field producer, she straightens and bristles. "I did what I was told," she says. "The sign was small. I did not get a direct notice from court. The tripod was placed for coverage." Her tone has a defensive edge that reads like a refusal to be the scapegoat. She leans forward as if leaning at all might pull the room with her. Rowan holds the moment. "Did you receive a written directive about no recording and overflow?" she asks. "No, Your Honor." "Did the station brief freelancers?" "Informally," she replies. "Not in writing." Avery moves. She does not attack the witnesses. Instead, she uses their statements like tools. "Your Honor," she says, "this is not only about a 10-second clip, it is about responsibility. The station runs the feed. Their auto switch failed. Their placement obscured the sign. The producer admits no written notice. That chain of failures created the image the public saw." Her voice is quiet and sharp. She leans on the technician's own words. "If we accept technical error as absolution, then no broadcaster answers for harm done. That cannot stand." The technician blushes. The field producer's eyes flash. The room tightens. Rowan watches Avery use the new facts to build a broader claim. She does not interrupt. She allows the argument to form in plain sight. Evelyn responds with the narrower law. Fault for error does not equate to contempt. The defendant's intent is the measure here. She glances at Derek. "We still lack proof he intended disrespect." Derek shifts once. A brief movement. A hand brushes the bandage at his ankle and settles. It is small. It says he is there, feeling the pain, not staging it. No speech. A private gesture with public consequence. Rowan turns to Maya. Physically inspect the overflow. Move the tripod. Show us what the sign looks like from the camera's angle. Her voice is brisk. She does not waste words. Maya stands and leaves, camera crews watching like vultures. In the overflow room, the sign is not immediately obvious. It sits low and to the side, a slender placard behind a roll of cables. Only when a producer crouches, moving a cable that has become entangled in the tripod, does the placard briefly emerge. The tripod's legs scrape plastic. The sign slides back into shadow. The crew exchanges a look. Back in the courtroom, a replay shows how the tripod framed the lower edge of the shot. In the live feed, the placard would have been out of frame entirely. The defense leans forward. The prosecutor's jaw tightens. Avery stands again, not to claim innocence for the error, but to press the consequence. "This is negligence with public effect," she says. "The station profited from speed, not accuracy. They must answer administratively and legally where appropriate. The public must see that systems that mislead are corrected." Rowan nods slowly. She folds the new facts into the record. "Subpoena the transmission logs. Bring the field producer and the station's technical lead for a full hearing. Document every communication about recording rules." She looks at the technician. "Recreate the switch under oath in court." The technician exhales. He hesitates, then meets her gaze. For the first time, he stops defending and begins to acknowledge the consequence. Evelyn adds, "And if the logs show the defendant tried to stand and was impeded by custody restraints or injury, then any contempt claim collapses." "Agreed," Avery says, abruptly conceding the point while holding the broader demand for accountability. Rowan taps a pen. "We will not decide on contempt today. We will gather the full record. If the broadcast misrepresented Mr. Cole's actions, the court will act on the broadcaster. If any concealment is found, we will act with the weight of this bench." No one applauds. Reporters type. Phones ping. Outside, the hashtags keep burning. Rowan stands and the room senses the shift from spectacle to procedure. The small reveal in the overflow, a sign hidden by a tripod and a tangle of cables, has turned a simple tech answer into a human knot. It will take time to untie. As the gallery rustles, Avery gathers her notes. She is not satisfied, but she has pushed the facts into place. Evelyn sits back, resolved. Derek's hand relaxes on his ankle for a second, then tightens again. The court will dig. The feeds will keep looping. But the argument has shifted, from outrage to evidence, from a meme to a matter. Can justice survive in a world of half-seen frames? The question remains, and now has weight. Understood. I tightened part 3 as requested. I combined Derek's line with Rowan's reaction, condensed Maya's evidence into one concise paragraph, removed interior explanations of Avery, and made the technician's admission plus Rowan's orders brisk and focused. The result is 750 words, U.S. English, read out loud, TTS ready. Derek Cole steps forward. Cuffs click. He stands before the bench and speaks, voice low and plain. "Your Honor, I didn't mean disrespect. I just stood slow." The courtroom holds its breath. Cameras whir, reporters stop typing. The sentence lands and needs no echo. Rowan does not lecture. She does not grandstand. She nods once, a quiet acknowledgement that reads like law and mercy in balance. "The court will stand for those who cannot," she says. It is simple. It is decisive. The line slips into phones and feeds within minutes. Judge stands, blooms across the stream like a counterweight to the earlier outrage. Evelyn Cross lets out a small exhale and gives a curt nod. Avery Sinclair sits back, watching the bench, silent. No theatrical moment follows. The court moves back to work. Maya Johnson rises and places a tablet on the lectern. She speaks cleanly without the procedural detail that usually bores a room. She gives results. "We subpoenaed the station logs overnight," she says. "The logs show an automatic software update ran shortly before the hearing. That update shortened the pre-roll buffer by 3.2 seconds. The courtroom camera shows Mr. Cole beginning to rise within that interval. The overflow feed, after the buffer cut, lacks those frames. In short, the record the public saw omitted the seconds in which Mr. Cole began to stand." A murmur runs through the gallery. The field producer's jaw tightens. The technician shifts on his feet. The facts hang clean and sharp, the kind of thing that forces people to rearrange what they thought they knew. Avery stands and points to the screen where the timestamps sit. She does not plead the crowd. She frames consequence. "This gap altered public perception," she says. "A broadcaster's systems produced an image that misled millions. We must correct that record and hold the responsible parties to account." Evelyn meets her across the aisle. "Intent remains central," she replies. "If Mr. Cole attempted to rise, the contempt claim cannot stand." Avery does not retreat. She tightens the issue. "Correct the record first," she says. "Then we assess accountability." Rowan listens to the exchange and folds the facts into a single decision. She turns to the technician. "Did the station apply an update?" she asks. The technician exhales, then answers in the thin voice of someone caught between procedure and consequence. "Yes, Your Honor, we installed a patch. It was tested, but not in this exact setup. The timing changed. It is a small confession, but it is enough." Responsibility moves from abstract to particular. Rowan's orders are brief and precise. "Subpoena the technical lead. Bring the update logs. Recreate the handoff under oath. Produce any communication about recording rules sent to on-site crews. Do not publish any corrective statement until we review the full record." She taps the bench with a finger. Not a strike, more a mark in the air. "We will not punish on the basis of a clip. We will correct the record and then determine if administrative or legal sanctions are warranted." The room rearranges itself around that instruction. Reporters lower their phones to take notes. Lawyers confer. The technician looks suddenly smaller under the weight of the subpoenaed logs. Derek watches all this without fanfare. He does not speak again. The faint movement of his hand at his ankle, an absent-minded press of thumb to bandage, reads like a man anchoring himself to reality. It says more about him than any courtroom display could. Outside, the new narrative begins to form. The furious certainty that commanded the morning loosens into something more careful. Judge stands, spreads with the logs and the timestamps, and the public's outrage begins to look less like verdict and more like an unfinished sentence. Rowan stands and gathers the papers before her. She looks straight at the camera cluster reserved for official recording and, by extension, the public. "If the record misled the public," she says, "this court will correct it. If concealment is found, we will pursue remedies. But we will do so on the strength of evidence, not outrage." There is an economy to her words that settles the room. They are not triumph. They are not surrender. They are a way forward. Avery folds her notes. Evelyn straightens. Maya keeps the tablet in her hand like a ledger of truth, yet to be fully read. The technician steps down from the stand with a new weight in his shoulders, as if the logs he manages have become moral weights. Phones in the gallery buzz with the updated clip, the judge's line, the log summary, the timestamp overlay. The narrative shifts visibly, and people who rush to judgment slow their pace. Before the court rises, a soft question floats up from the back. If you were judged by your weakest moment, what would you hope others saw? It lands with the rest of the evidence, not as a provocation, but as a measure. The court answers in its work, subpoenas, logs, hearings. Outside, the hashtags churn. Inside, the bench moves with the deliberate speed of procedure. They will reconvene. They will follow the data. For now, truth has pushed its way through the blur. The air in courtroom 12 feels heavier now. The heat of outrage has cooled, leaving something slower, denser, the weight of verification. A young reporter stands at the witness table. Her hands tremble as she raises the oath. She can't be more than 24. A stringer, hired by the local station for freelance coverage. Her badge hangs crooked. The court camera light glints off it. "State your name and role," Rowan says. "Carleen Guyen, Your Honor. Freelance field stringer for KETV. Her voice shakes, but she forces each word out. "I didn't receive the station's internal emails. I wasn't on the employee list for the buffer update. I thought the auto feed handled everything." Avery's tone cuts through. "You were the one holding the camera." "Yes, ma'am." "And you didn't verify what you were streaming?" Carly blinks, holding back tears. "We were told to keep the feed running. I didn't know the buffer changed. I just followed instructions." Avery steps closer. "Lack of knowledge doesn't erase the damage." Her voice rises slightly, firm, but not cruel. "Loi van la loi. A mistake is still a mistake." Evelyn stands, calm, hands clasped behind her. "And yet," she says softly, "a mistake is not a crime." The contrast hangs between them. The courtroom has heard thousands of arguments about guilt and intent, but those few words carry an echo that pulls the gallery quiet again. Rowan rests her elbows on the bench. Her voice is steady. "Justice does not move at the pace of anger," she says. "It moves at the pace of truth." Maya writes that down without being asked. Reporters pause mid-keystroke. The line will live longer than the trial itself. Then, the technical lead from the station steps forward. Older, calm, professional exhaustion in every motion. "Our AI-based switching system," he explains, "manages transitions automatically. The software patch misaligned timestamps, causing the buffer reduction and frame drift. The error went undetected because the AI logs marked it as nominal." Avery crosses her arms. "So the machine made the call?" He nods. "And no one verified it? Manually?" "No, ma'am. We trusted the automation." "Trust," she says quietly, "isn't immunity." Her tone isn't angry now. It's the sharp fatigue of someone who's seen technology make fools of the capable. Rowan leans forward again. "We will not let automation define what is real. Truth doesn't rush. It waits." She glances to Maya. "Request forensic analysis of the broadcast file. Every frame, every interpolation marker." Hours later, under dimmed lights, the analysis plays on the projector. A magnified version of the viral clip loops in silence. Then a freeze frame. Derek, mid-motion, blurred. An engineer points to the waveform. "Interpolation artifact," he says. The AI extended frames to smooth motion between cuts. It stretched a 2-second transition into 5. It makes the subject appear motionless longer than he actually was. The discovery lands like a quiet explosion. A human delay had been mistaken for defiance, then magnified by machine logic. Evelyn exhales. So the world mocked him for something that didn't happen. Rowan nods. The world often does. Avery does not argue. She presses her lips together, conceding the fact with a slow breath. She has chased contempt. Now she sees distortion. Rowan turns to the gallery. The viral clip misrepresented events, she announces. Effective immediately, all media coverage of this case is suspended for 24 hours while the court audits every file. A murmur spreads. Reporters exchange looks. The order is rare, but not without precedent. Carly's eyes widen. Your Honor, that means It means we stop feeding the noise, Rowan says. We reset. The technician bows his head. We'll cooperate, Judge. Carly nods, wiping her face. I'll correct the record. Rowan regards her, not as a culprit, but as a reminder. We will all correct it, she says. Every one of us who shared it, watched it, or believed it without asking. She closes the folder in front of her. The sound is soft, but final. This court stands adjourned until review is complete. When truth is found, it will speak for itself. Maya collects the evidence drives and hands them to a deputy. Avery slips her notes back into her case, slower this time. Evelyn offers a faint nod to Derek, who only looks down, shoulders loosening slightly for the first time all day. Outside the courthouse, cameras still blink but record nothing. The usual buzz of live streams and instant takes fades into an unfamiliar silence. A screen goes dark. For 24 hours, the noise stops. Inside, Rowan remains at the bench long after the others leave. She studies the frozen image of Derek mid-motion, a blur mistaken for stillness. In that frame lies the entire story, a man judged by seconds edited by a machine. She closes her eyes and whispers to no one. How many lives have we judged through edited seconds? Her words echo in the empty courtroom. A line meant not for the press, but for whoever still believes truth can outlast a glitch. Morning commentary swells into accusation. Rowan is protecting the defendant to save face, an anchor intones. A note buzzes on Rowan's phone from Chief Judge Hayes. Celeste, don't let the feed drive the bench. She reads it, breathes, and tucks the phone away. In the courtroom, the mood tightens. Reporters angle for detail. The case has become less about one man and more about how truth travels. Avery Sinclair stands and states the prosecutor's demand with precision. The broadcast misled millions. Systems failed. We ask this court to require corrective measures and accountability. Evelyn Cross rises without flourish. She moves to a clerk and returns with a small drive. Her voice is steady. Your Honor, I requested all audio feeds last night. I believe one of the recordings will clarify the matter. Heads turn. Cameras pivot. Evelyn plugs the drive into the courtroom system and presses play. A hushed room listens. On the audio, under the noise of a court entering, a low instruction is heard. Let him sit. His ankle's bad. The voice is brisk, unmistakable, belonging to a deputy on the roster. Murmurs ripple. Avery's posture shifts, but she does not interrupt. At that moment, a tall, composed man enters. Miles Carter, Your Honor, he says with a curt nod. Counsel for KETV. His voice is practiced. The station accepts responsibility for the erroneous feed. We dispute any suggestion of willful concealment. Now the contest has a face. Evelyn does not relent. The audio confirms accommodation was directed, she says. That undercuts any claim of willful contempt. She looks at Derek. He attempted to stand within the seconds the buffer should have preserved. Avery pivots immediately, concise and forceful. We will not equate lack of intent with a lack of consequence. The misrepresentation had real impact. We will require correction and review of station procedures. Miles Carter interjects, cool and legal. We are prepared to issue a correction, he says. We will cooperate with the court's investigation, but we must also protect fair reporting. Measures should be proportionate. Avery narrows her argument to the power she can wield now. Correction with prominence equal to the original broadcast. An internal audit made public. Administrative penalties where negligence is proven. Rowan watches the exchange like someone tracing a script she did not write. The two tracks are now plain: the defendant's conduct and the broadcaster's responsibility. She folds them together with a judgment both brief and binding. Subpoena the deputy who gave the instruction, she orders. Subpoena the station's technical lead and Miles Carter. Produce all communication about recording rules and the update logs. Prepare a hearing on the broadcaster within 72 hours. Any corrective statement must be submitted to this court before release. Her words set the timetable. The courtroom rearranges around that order. Reporters tap notes. Miles Carter inclines his head and accepts the subpoenas. Avery nods, satisfied with the scope. Evelyn closes her tablet with a small, measured motion. Outside the gallery, the public conversation has shifted. Judge Stans now shares space with Correct the Record and station accountability. The narrative that began as outrage narrows into procedure. Rowan leans forward, addressing both counsel. We will pursue accountability where warranted, she says, but allegations of contempt require mens rea. We will not criminalize a man because a machine and a placement error made him appear frozen. Evelyn adds, crisp and direct. If testimony confirms he tried to stand and was impeded by restraints or injury, contempt cannot stand. Her agency in finding and presenting the audio has moved the law toward clarity. Miles Carter clears his throat and asks for a limited protective order to preserve proprietary system details. He frames it as a balance, transparency with protection for infrastructure. His legal posture is careful, deliberate. He is both opponent and interlocutor. Avery answers. Transparency first. If systems are at fault, the public is owed a clear accounting. She keeps her challenge to facts, not theatrics. Rowan nods. We split the issues. The broadcast inquiry proceeds on its timetable. The contempt question will be set once the technical hearing is complete. Any corrective broadcast must be vetted by this court before dissemination. She lets the statement stand. It is not theatrical. It is process. As the court pauses, a reporter asks, Judge, will the station run the correction now? Rowan looks at Miles Carter, then at Avery and Evelyn. No. Any correction runs after court review. We will not allow an unchecked response that confuses the record further. Miles Carter accepts the condition without public dispute. Derek sits back, the smallest relief loosening his jaw. Avery and Evelyn gather their notes as a professional rhythm returns to the court. Before the gavel falls, Rowan leaves them with a phrase that will travel fast. Not every light reveals, she says. Some light blinds. It is our work to find which is which. The session adjourns. People rise. Miles Carter and his team file a list of documents. The court will convene again to dissect code, human choices, and the brittle way the two can mislead millions. Outside, hashtags churn, headlines rewrite, and the public waits for a correction. Inside, the bench prepares for a technical hearing that will test how easily truth is bent by placement, software, and human error. The contest has a face. The work has a shape. News anchors sharpen their tone, and the outside noise grows louder. "Rowan is soft on disrespect," one says. "Where's the firmness?" another demands. KETV posts a brief apology on a corrections page. It reads like a template. The public calls it thin. Rowan reads the apology once, sets the tablet down, and speaks to the room. "Justice is not found on a subsidiary page," she says. The sentence lands like a rule. Evelyn Cross stands. "Your Honor," she says, "we can do more than demand correction. We can set a protocol. Minimum buffer times, visible signage, written acknowledgement for freelancers. Make it a template courts can use." Her voice is quick and practical. She hands a one-page proposal to the clerk. The move is small and decisive, law shaped into procedure. Rowan looks at the paper, then at the gallery, then at Miles Carter, the station's counsel, who has just entered the room. Carter is precise in suit and manner. He speaks for the broadcaster calmly. "We accept responsibility for the erroneous feed, Your Honor. We will cooperate. But please balance corrective orders with press freedom." Rowan's reply is immediate and firm. "This court will not micromanage editorial judgment. It will, however, demand accuracy where coverage alters the public record of our proceedings. Effective immediately, the court orders a mandatory protocol, 15-second minimum buffer on any feed that carries live courtroom audio or video. Visible, unblocked signage in every overflow and broadcast area. Written acknowledgement for any freelancer who is given access. And a requirement that any corrective statement match the prominence of the original broadcast and be submitted to this court for review prior to release." Her words are precise, like an instrument being tuned. They leave little room for debate about standard. They do, however, leave space for legal process. Miles Carter exhales once. "Your Honor, we will comply, but we must protect newsroom operations. Some technical details are proprietary." He requests a limited protective order to shield system architecture while still allowing court review. Evelyn nods briskly. "We can craft confidentiality that preserves safety without hiding accountability." Her role has shifted from advocate for her client to architect of an enforceable fix. The courtroom registers the change. She has moved the controversy into a design that can be measured and enforced. Avery Sinclair stands, concise. "We will require a correction of equal prominence and an audit of station procedures. If negligence is proven, administrative penalties should follow." She keeps the focus narrow, remedy and deterrence. Rowan folds those elements together and issues the next steps. Subpoena the station's technical lead and field producer. Produce all communications about the update and any notices to on-site crews. File the proposed corrective statement with the court before publication. We will hold a hearing within 72 hours. Failure to comply will prompt sanctions. Carter blinks but does not refuse. He understands the calculus. Compliance now avoids worse exposure later. "We will comply, Your Honor," he says, voice level. The order moves through the room like a bell. Reporters lower phones to write. Lawyers rearrange notes. Protesters outside recalibrate their messages. The protocol changes the frame from outrage to enforceable standards. Rowan turns to both counsel and addresses the broader point. A platform's speed cannot replace accuracy. A correction that no one sees is not a correction. This court will ensure visibility and verification before any public remedy is issued. The procedural clarity has an effect. It channels the public's fury into a formal response. It also reframes the prosecutor's role. Avery collects her papers with measured movements. She does not seek spectacle. Evelyn sits back, satisfied that the law has been given a tool. Miles Carter consults his team, already dialing for damage control that meets the court's timeline. Maya records compliance steps, and the clerk prepares subpoenas. The field producer and technical lead exchange looks that are half concern, half calculation. They know the consequences now have legal teeth. As the room begins to rise, Rowan pauses and asks a question that lands beyond the legalese and into conscience. Would you still tell the truth if millions watched you stumble? The question is a pivot. It becomes a prompt for commentary and a line for the feeds. Reporters copy it verbatim. The public will quote it, reflect on it, and debate it. Before the gavel falls, Rowan adds one final directive. No corrective broadcasts until this court reviews the draft. Any statement released without prior review will be considered a further misrepresentation and may prompt immediate sanctions. The admonition tightens the timeline. Miles Carter notes the condition. Avery nods. Evelyn gives a small professional smile. Outside, the hashtags shift again. Correct, the record and docket judge stands appear side by side. The court adjourns to prepare subpoenas and a technical hearing. The pressure test has moved from rhetoric to regulation. The station has a face in the room. The court has a mechanism. The public has a process to watch. Rowan watches them file out and allows herself a small human exhale. The work is not done. It never is. But the contours of remedy are clearer now. And that, in law, is a kind of shelter. The courtroom is fuller than usual. Reporters, station lawyers, and a handful of public observers pack the benches. Every microphone has been checked twice. The air hums with a quiet tension, the kind that follows exposure and waits for a verdict not of guilt, but of standard. Judge Celeste Rowan enters, robe steady, expression calm but sharpened. She takes her seat, looks across the room, and begins without preamble. This hearing is not about punishment, she says, voice carrying cleanly through the speakers. It's about correction. What we allow to pass for news about this court shapes the faith the public holds in every verdict that follows. Today we'll draw the line between error, negligence, and indifference. She turns to the counsel table. Miles Carter, representing the broadcasting network, adjusts his tie. Evelyn Cross stands beside her client, Derek Cole, still quiet, still leaning on his cane, but more composed. Across the aisle, Prosecutor Avery Sinclair keeps her notes ready, though today she seems more like a spectator to principal than a rival in contest. Rowan lists the categories of failure: clear, methodical, deliberate. Level 1, technical failure. The buffer miscalculated duration due to automatic software updates. She pauses just long enough for the technician in the back row to feel it. Level 2, managerial oversight. Field personnel were not informed of new feed protocols, resulting in missing signage and incomplete verification. Level 3, public distortion. When unverified footage airs without correction, perception replaces truth. A murmur spreads through the audience. Cameras capture each phrase. Rowan lets the sound die naturally, then continues. This court recognizes that human error exists. But when human error meets automated systems and unchecked dissemination, accountability must evolve. Therefore, the court issues the following: A courtroom media protocol order, a standing directive for all future live coverage from judicial premises. She gestures to Maya, who projects the text onto a screen beside the bench. Each point is crisp, numbered, almost architectural in clarity. 1. Any live feed must include a minimum 15-second buffer before public transmission. 2. Every broadcast area must display a visible, unobstructed sign reading, "No recording beyond authorized channels." 3. All freelancers, including stringers and temporary technicians, must sign acknowledgement forms confirming understanding of the court's protocol. 4. Any clip containing an erroneous or misleading depiction must carry a visible correction note for a minimum of 30 days, equal in reach to the original post. The court stenographer's keys click in rhythm with her cadence. Each clause lands like a small gavel. Avery breaks the silence first. "So the order doesn't criminalize the network?" Rowan nods. "Not this time. We're not in the business of silencing the press." "But correction without consequence is not correction. It's choreography." Miles Carter clears his throat. "Your Honor, these directives are extensive. We'll comply, but some broadcasters may argue it chills live transparency." Evelyn steps forward before Rowan can answer. "Transparency isn't measured by how fast a camera runs. It's measured by how faithfully it tells the truth." Rowan turns to her, one brow lifting. Evelyn adds softly, almost like an echo. "This isn't punishment. It's a lesson, one we've all earned." A ripple of quiet acknowledgement moves through the courtroom. The young reporter, the same stringer whose feed first triggered the storm, watches from the back row, her press badge trembling slightly in her hand. Rowan notices, then continues. "The station will suspend that credential for 7 days, she says evenly. Not as reprisal, but as reflection. During that time, the station is ordered to publish a full apology on its primary homepage and broadcast it within the next scheduled news hour. The statement must reference the protocol order in full." Miles Carter starts to speak, but thinks better of it. The order is tight, lawful, and impossible to frame as censorship. He simply nods. Rowan's voice softens but carries an undercurrent of resolve. Order doesn't extinguish freedom. It keeps truth safe as it passes through. There's a stillness after that line, the kind that only follows something weightier than reprimand. Reporters jot it down instantly. It's the quote they'll use for headlines before the day ends. Rowan signs the order with her fountain pen, strokes deliberate. The court seal burns red wax onto parchment. When she slides it across to the clerk, the act feels ceremonial, something between law and restoration. Chief Judge Roland Hayes, seated in observation, rises. His nod is brief but unmistakable. "Judge Rowan," he says, "this court recognizes your order as precedent. Rare but proper. It's an official endorsement and a quiet shield against whatever political backlash might follow." Evelyn closes her folder and looks at Derek. He meets her eyes, faint gratitude surfacing behind the restraint. For the first time since his arrest, his posture straightens. Avery gathers her files and approaches Rowan's bench with a small gesture of concession. "Your Honor," she says, "the state supports this protocol. Justice benefits from order as much as from sunlight." Rowan inclines her head. "Then let's make sure both survive." Outside, as word of the protocol spreads, networks begin drafting their own statements. Some call it overreach, others call it a new era of responsibility. Online, the clip of Rowan's declaration trends under .your protocol order and .your truth safe. The courtroom empties slowly, but Rowan remains seated a while longer. Her hands rest on the signed document. For the first time in weeks, the noise outside feels distant enough to breathe. Maya collects the last of the papers. "It's done, Your Honor." Rowan shakes her head lightly. "Not done, just begun." And with that she stands, robe folding like the last note of a song, and leaves the bench under a single beam of quiet afternoon light. Can discipline coexist with freedom? The courtroom waits, as if holding a collective breath. Rowan looks down at the file, then out at the rows of faces. Her hand rests on the gavel, fingers steady. "This court finds," she says, voice even, "that the record, as originally broadcast, did not accurately reflect Mr. Cole's actions." A hush spreads through the room. She lets the pause lengthen, just enough for everyone to feel it. "There is no finding of willful contempt." Her words are precise. They are not mercy masquerading as law. They are law doing what it must. "But," she continues, "there were operational failures, managerial oversights, and a failure in the public record that must be corrected. The broadcaster will be held to the protocol order. A correction will be issued with prominence equal to the original broadcast. Administrative sanctions may follow upon full review." A gold rim of light catches the edge of the mallet as she sets it down. The flash looks like a small blessing on the bench. Cameras pick it up, phones record it. The image will travel. Derek exhales, a long, clean breath that seems to take something heavy with it. He turns his head slightly toward the defense table. His voice is rough, but steady. "Thank you," he says. "Thank you for letting me stand the way I could." It is a small sentence. It is enormous in effect. People in the gallery blink as if rain has come through a skylight. Some lower their phones. Some sit very still. Rowan lets a thin smile cross her face. Not triumph, not indulgence. A quiet human acknowledgement that sometimes correct procedure returns dignity. She repeats, softer this time, as if pressing the phrase into the record itself. "Order restores truth." The line lands and stays. It will be clipped and reclipped, used as a counter to the earlier clip that started the day. Its power is in its calm. Maya moves to the door and posts the protocol order on the public notice board. The paper flutters once, then settles under the courthouse light. People step up, read the typed sections about buffers, signage, and corrections. A station lawyer steps forward, taking a copy. Miles Carter watches, expression unreadable, then pockets the sheet. Evelyn stands, watching Derek for a moment. He meets her gaze. She leans in, voice low, almost private. "One day," she says, "they will understand." Her words are not for the feeds. They are for the man who has been seen badly and will now be seen more fairly. Avery folds her notes and rises. She approaches the bench with the efficient motion of someone collecting a case and a responsibility. "We will monitor compliance," she says. "We will ensure the corrective statement runs with the prominence ordered." Her tone is compact. There is no reward in the statement, only the work to be done. Rowan nods. "Ensure the correction is subject to the court's review before release," she instructs. "And prepare any administrative recommendation once we complete the technical inquiry." The courtroom exhales. Cameras blink off their red lights. Reporters gather their recording devices. Miles Carter confers with his team in tight whispers. The field producer slips out, head lowered. The technician shoulders a case and moves like a man returning to undo what machines once did wrong. Outside, the plaza buzzes with people who will tell the story in pieces. Some will tell it as vindication. Some will call it compromise. The threads will wind through opinion and feed frenzy alike. But inside the courthouse, a small, stabilizing action has been taken. Rowan stands, robe falling into place, and looks once more over the room. This court is adjourned with the expectation that all parties will act in good faith, she says. We will reconvene for the technical hearing as scheduled. As people rise, the echo of her earlier line passes from throat to throat. Order restores truth. The phrase finds its way into headlines and half-formed tweets. It becomes a measure. Would you stand for order? A reporter asks as cameras follow people out, or sit for convenience? The question hangs in the doorway. It is not answerable in a single moment. It is a challenge. Derek walks out slowly, escorted by a deputy. He walks with the steadiness of a man who knows the small things that make up a life, how to stand, and why it matters. Rowan walks the stone corridor slowly. The light slants through high windows, strips of gold across worn tile. Her robe whispers with each step. The building smells faintly of polish and paper. A bailiff falls in step beside her, holding a small phone. He glances up. They reposted the clip, Judge. The station ran the correction. This time, people understand. His voice is careful, like he does not want to speak too loudly in a holy place of procedure. Rowan pauses beneath an arch and looks at the phone for a long breath. She does not smile, but something in her face eases. We don't need the court to win, she says. We need order to bring truth back into focus. Her words are plain. They sit between them like a small covenant. Down the hall, a television in the press room plays the evening loop. The new clip runs with the correction, timestamps, overlays, a statement read by the anchor. The banner reads, Order. Restores truth. Chief Judge Hayes watches from the doorway, a soft nod on his face. He gives a short private smile, approval that is more relief than praise. The camera lingers on the mallet as gold light trims its edge. The image holds, a simple tool, a simple line of metal that marks time and decision. In the quiet, the sound of Rowan's heel clicks follows her down the corridor and fades like a metronome. Silence, suddenly, is not empty. It has weight. It has a tone, imperfect, patient. It returns what was taken. It gives back the seconds that mattered. If truth were a sound, would you keep it quiet or let it echo? Rowan pauses at the top of the steps. Light from the high windows slants across her profile. She does not look back. She never does. A quiet voice carries, not from a narrator, but from the room itself. Judge Rowan doesn't raise her voice, someone says, soft and certain. She raises the standard. Her silhouette moves through the doorway. Heel clicks mark each step and then melt into the stone. The JusticeSoul emblem slides into view on a navy field, gold letters settling like a seal. Respect, the voice goes on, is not submission. It is alignment with truth. It is the patience to let evidence speak. Order restores truth. The corridor darkens. The gavel's rim gleams one last time. Rowan's shadow folds into the hall. The question hangs in that quiet space. If this were your courtroom, what would respect look like?